So little is known factually about Pontius Pilate, but much has been speculated about him. There seems to be a consensus that he was prefect of Judea for 10 years across the time of Jesus' ministry on earth, and that while he had little time for Jewish traditions and practices, he worked with the Jewish authorities. For instance, he had the power to appoint the temple high priest and kept Caiaphas in that position throughout his term of office. One historical fact was that he used money from the temple coffers to build an aqueduct, which resulted in protests which were brutally dispersed by Pilate's soldiers. There seem to have been other disturbances among Jewish activists which were quickly dealt with. We know, for instance, that Barabbas was involved in some sort of uprising. So it's likely that Pilate knew, at least by reputation and gossip, of Jesus' activities before Christ was brought before him. And so his arrival would not be a surprise. All the Gospel accounts indicate that Pilate's verdict that Jesus was to be condemned to death was clearly one of reluctance. Indeed, our account today suggests that the whole incident troubled the prefect. So intrigued by Jesus was he that Pilate began to question him. Jesus is his usual cool and calm self, unconcerned what Pilate thinks of him, or of the power that Pilate says he can hold over him. Jesus refuses to answer Pilate's initial questions. They're irrelevant. So Pilate tries to impose his authority. Jesus is unmoved. He knows whose authority he lives by, and it's neither Pilate's nor the Jewish authorities. Jesus knows what he has done is right. So what does it matter whether others choose to judge him by their own flawed standards? The Roman governor believes Jesus to be innocent, having done nothing wrong as far as he can see. Pilate's losing interest. What does it matter? He decides to set Jesus free, but then encounters some vehement opposition from the Jews. This is all getting too much and too political. He has a go at the Jews. "Here's your king," he says. This incenses the crowd even more, to the point where Pilate says, "Whatever. You want to crucify him? Go ahead." To us, at this distance, this seems a massive dereliction of duty, an unforgivable apathy, a crass piece of self-interest. We might feel this is a horrible burning injustice for our innocent Lord. How was it for Pilate, who was clearly moved by all this? He accepts Jesus has done nothing wrong. He knows it. He believes it. He feels it. Jesus has not been belligerent. He's not overtly challenged Pilate's power, but simply says he doesn't accept it. Jesus knows where all this is leading. It must have been a terrible strain to keep calm in the face of all this, to refrain from getting angry as he did earlier in the week. So Pilate condemns him to death. It is this verdict which paves the way for Jesus to continue his journey to the cross to save us.